Where is the man who killed Jeffrey Dahmer? There has been a resurgence of curiosity around Jeffrey Dahmer's murderer, Christopher Scarver, following the publication of Monster: The Jeffrey Dahmer Story. From his reign of terror to his demise at the hands of Scarver, Dahmer's life is fully explored in Ryan Murphy's true crime TV program. Scarver and the contentious manner in which he killed the infamous serial killer continue to be of great fascination even today. Monster, a Netflix original film, has divided audiences all around the world. The program provides insight into one of the most prominent serial killers in recent memory. Fans of true crime are now researching many of the real-life persons shown in the show in addition to Dahmer's past as a result of the resurgence of interest. The show has been under fire from the families of the victims for repeating old tragedies, thus the release has not been without controversy. Some viewers have complimented the show's emphasis on the viewpoints of the victims, noting that Murphy left out information about Jeffrey Dahmer's past in order to avoid taking an excessively sympathetic view of the murderer. What occurred to the policeman who returned Dahmer's victim? Furley Mack's character in the episode, Christopher Scarver, killed Jeffrey Dahmer in the prison gym when they were unattended. The public's response to the incident was divided. Although some thought Dahmer deserved to spend his life in prison, others applauded the murder. Nevertheless, after the murder, Scarver was thrown into the public eye, which revealed information about his own troubling background. Christopher Scarver. Who is he? Why was he behind bars? For the murder of Stephen Lohman, Christopher Scarver was given a life term in jail in 1990. Both Lohman and Scarver held positions with the Wisconsin Conservation Corps. Scarver reportedly began to hear voices referring to him as the Chosen One around the time Lohman was killed. After a disagreement about money on the site, Scarver was sacked from his job and shot Lohman 3 times. With the exception of his meetings with Dahmer, Scarver's past isn't extensively explored in Netflix's most recent true crime program. Scarver's high school dropout status is known, yet he joined the Conservation Corps with the intention of becoming a carpenter. Why Jeffrey Dahmer was killed by Christopher Scarver. Scarver explained his motives for killing Jeffrey Dahmer in an interview with the New York Post in 2015. He admitted that at first he avoided Dahmer, citing his peculiar conduct and lack of remorse as his justifications. He, Dahmer, and another prisoner were cleaning the gym on November 28, 1994 when Scarver made the decision to face Dahmer. He mentioned that he kept a newspaper that detailed Dahmer's misdeeds, and that his disgust over the notorious killings drove him to attack Dahmer with a metal bar, killing him in the process. Additional victims of Christopher Scarver. Scarver killed another prisoner in addition to Jeffrey Dahmer and Stephen Lohman. Scarver critically hurt Jesse Anderson shortly after killing Jeffrey Dahmer, and he passed away from his wounds a few days later. Anderson, a convicted killer as well, viciously murdered his wife by stabbing her 5 times in the head and face. He stabbed himself 4 times in the chest but ultimately lived. After Dahmer killed numerous men of color in the area, Anderson made an attempt to pin the incident on 2 men of color, inflaming racial tension in Wisconsin. Despite the obvious connections, Christopher Scarver's murderous attacks on both men were not perceived as being motivated by race. What transpired to Christopher Scarver following the murder of Jeffrey Dahmer? Due to the crimes shown in the Netflix Real Crime series, Christopher Scarver is currently serving 2 extra life terms. He is currently completing his sentence in a Colorado prison. Scarver started composing and publishing poems while he was incarcerated, in addition to his well-known interview with the New York Post. He also has a son who was born 27 years ago, following his initial incarceration. Since then, the two have developed a relationship and are exchanging letters. Netflix's Monster has been a huge success despite some well-deserved criticism and controversy. The popularity of the program will surely inspire the production of other true crime plays. Despite the abundance of Dahmer content out there, Murphy's original and vivid portrayal of the murderer's reign of terror has struck a chord with a sizable audience who are fascinated by the sinister events that took place more than 30 years ago. Who is the murderer of Jeffrey Dahmer, Christopher Scarver, and where is he now? How true to life is Scarver portrayed in the show? The new Netflix series Dahmer, Monster: The Story of Jeffrey Dahmer has divided audiences, according to Glamtish. Some believe it's a significant program that sheds insight on how the police disregarded Dahmer's crimes as a serial killer. Others believe it was made in bad taste, and even the family of the victims Dahmer killed have criticized it. The program discusses Dahmer's murders, cannibalism, and necrophilia in addition to how he was killed in jail by fellow prisoner Christopher Scarver. But how realistic is the portrayal of Scarver in the program, and where is Dahmer's murderer now? Christopher Scarver, Furley Mack, who played Dahmer, really did beat the man to death. But it wasn't as planned as the TV drama portrays. Scarver acknowledged that Dahmer was a serial killer and asserted that Dahmer never expressed regret for his actions in an interview with the New York Post. Dahmer repulsed Scarver, but he had no intention of killing him. Dahmer's fate was nevertheless sealed when Scarver was given the task of cleaning the prison gym with Dahmer and another prisoner named Jesse Anderson, who had murdered his wife. Scarver snapped after being prodded in the back by one of them. In the gym, he questioned Dahmer and Anderson about their misdeeds before killing them with a metal gym bar. According to Scarver, the guards intentionally left him and Dahmer alone because they intended one of the prisoners to kill the inmate. He received a mental evaluation as well. He said that eating prison cuisine may have contributed to his decision to kill Dahmer. Bread and refined sugar are the biggest offenders. Scarver was handed 2 more life terms for the murder of Dahmer, and he has been behind bars ever since. Currently incarcerated in Cannon City, Colorado's Centennial Correctional Facility. God Seed. Poetry of Christopher J. Scarver, a poetry collection that Scarver authored while incarcerated, was published in 2015. Chris Scarver, Scarver's only child, is 27 years old and was born before his imprisonment. Although the father and son were once estranged, they are able to stay in touch by writing each other letters. Milwaukee, Wisconsin, is where Scarver was born. His mother ejected him from the house after he dropped out of high school. He enlisted in the Youth Conservation Corps and started working as a trainee carpenter. Scarver claims a program supervisor told him they would hire him after he finished the program. Scarver confronted Steve Lohman, the program's previous director, in June 1990, stating that they owed him money. Scarver shot Lohman in the head after receiving only $15 from Lohman. Lohman later died. After being detained, Scarver was sentenced to life in prison in 1992. Later on in the year, he killed Dahmer. True crime fans are eagerly seeking explanations for Jeffrey Dahmer's terrifying deeds and conversations with a killer. The Jeffrey Dahmer tapes will soon be available on Netflix after the streamer achieved contentious success with the scripted limited series Dahmer, Monster: The Jeffrey Dahmer Story. The renowned serial murderer was sentenced to 957 years in prison after being found guilty on 15 murder charges for the 1978 to 1991 murders of 17 Black, Latino, and Asian males. After being beaten to death by another prisoner named Christopher Scarver in 1994, Dahmer spent time at the Wisconsin-based Columbia Correctional Facility. The information we are aware of regarding Christopher Scarver and his whereabouts is listed below. The reason Christopher Scarver is incarcerated. Following the 3-shot shooting of Stephen Lohman, a member of the Wisconsin Conservation Corps, Christopher Scarver was given a life term in prison. The Tab reported that after being sacked from the same corporation Lohman worked for, Scarver started hearing voices that described him as the chosen one. Scarver then asked a site manager for money, but was only offered $15, so he decided to assassinate Lohman. Why was Jeffrey Dahmer killed by Christopher Scarver? According to The Independent, Christopher Scarver killed Jesse Anderson and Jeffrey Dahmer on November 28, 1994. While they were left alone for 20 minutes while cleaning the prison gym. In Monster: The Jeffrey Dahmer Story, Scarver, who was portrayed by Furley Mack, beat Dahmer to death with a weight bar before also killing Anderson. Scarver attacked Dahmer because the cannibalistic serial murderer would mock other prisoners by fashioning dismembered limbs out of prison food and drizzling ketchup as blood. According to a 2015 interview with the New York Post, Scarver, who was 45 at the time, told the outlet that he would position them in places where people would be. He crossed the line with certain people, including inmates and prison employees. He was not one of the repentant prisoners, though other inmates are.